In this video, we'll be solving quadratic equations using the square root property. The square root property states that if x squared is equal to some number, k, then x is equal to the square root of k, or x is equal to a negative square root of k. This can be written as x is equal to plus or minus square root of k. Let's try a few examples. We're asked to solve using the square root property. And our first example is x squared is equal to 29. So what we're going to do then, we have this condition, and we're just going to square root both sides. So if x squared is equal to 29, if I square root both sides, I get x is equal to plus or minus square root of 29. Be very, very careful that you remember plus or minus. Square root of 29 will not simplify, so this is my solution for this equation. Let's try another one. Again, we have x squared equaling a number, so I'm going to square root both sides, and I have x is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 144. Now this radicand is negative, which means that I need to work in the set of complex numbers. Anytime you have a negative under a square root, it's going to be an imaginary number. So I can rewrite this, split this into two radicals. X is equal to plus or minus square root of negative 1 times square root of 144. Now by definition, the square root of negative 1 is I, so I can write this as x is equal to plus or minus I times, and then the square root of 144 is 12. Now when I write this number, I'll put the numerical coefficient in front of the I. So my solution then is x is equal to plus or minus 12i. One more example. On this one, I don't have just x squared equaling a number. I have a quantity squared equal a number. Now instead of multiplying this out using FOIL, it's easier for us to just go ahead and square root both sides because we want to remove this squaring operation. So I'm going to do that. The square root property says I can square root both sides. And when I do that, the square root and the squaring, those are inverse operations, so they remove each other. And all I have left is the x minus 8 on the left side. And then on the right side, I have to remember plus or minus square root of 24. So that plus or minus, always remember to put that. Now I want to isolate the x because I'm solving for x. So let's add 8 to both sides. These will cancel. And I have x is equal to. Now this is a rational number and this is an irrational number. So I cannot add those together. So I need to write them separately. I have 8 plus or minus the square root of 24. Now one last step is to simplify this radical. 24 can be broken into 4 times 6, and we know that 4 is a perfect square. So I need to simplify this radical. This is x is equal to 8 plus or minus square root of 4 times square root of 6. And I know the square root of 4 is 2. So x is equal to 8 plus or minus 2 square root of 6.